Hello everybody, Xander here, and today we're back with another book review. We're still in September, but we're on October, spooky month. But, that's still fitting for what books we do have left, because I decided to fill September up with vampire stuff. We did review Queen of the Damned last week, and now we've got another vampire book to talk about. Pretty close to finishing September and finally getting to October, and that is Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, written by Seth Grahame-Smith, and I believe this was released in 2010. Yep, 2010, and is a fictional series of diary entries by the 16th president himself, Abraham Lincoln, in his quest to kill all vampires in America. A lot of you probably know about the movie that came out 2 years later with Benjamin Walker. Some of you probably don't even know about that movie anyway. Only a few of you probably do. And there's definitely not too many that probably know that this was a book. But I found it at my library's bookstore and was like, I have to read this. So this is exactly what it is. The prologue for this book is written from the author's perspective, as he himself has found these journal entries and is writing about them. And the bulk of the book is Abraham Lincoln's diary entries, but in between that is descriptions and context given by the author himself, which is interesting. It makes it a little more than just simply a bunch of diary entries for 300 pages, and I find it interesting. Is it my favorite book? Not entirely. The diary parts of the book are decent enough. I'm just not a huge fan of stuff like that, but it can be done really well, and Grahame-Smith did a good job at trying to copy the writing style of the time with Lincoln's diary entries. He also includes real diary entries from Lincoln at the beginning of specific chapters, which I found pretty cool, sort of to like give you an idea of what his writing was like, and then give you the fictional version. Yeah, I watched the movie before I read this, and I enjoyed that movie. I'm going to be talking about it a little bit in a video that's coming out later this month, and it's just a fun, goofy action horror film. This is a little more, this takes itself a little more seriously. Not that, the movie is like leaning too heavily on being goofy. It takes itself seriously enough, but has enough goofy elements that it does feel like it kind of leans into that with the really cheesy special effects. I'm sure the movie didn't have a great budget and stuff like that, but the acting's pretty good. Again, this book takes itself more seriously. It really goes into Lincoln's whole life story, from beginning to end, and it's kind of crazy how it fits all of that in here, while also including the fictional stuff, he's a vampire hunter, and I really like that. And there's a lot of stuff that this book has that the movie doesn't cover. There's a part where Abe meets horror author and poet Edgar Allan Poe, and they both mistake each other for vampires until they sort it out and get to talking. That was very cool. And it's also funny that around the same time there's a Edgar Allan Poe movie that was also kind of a fictionalized story of this real life person. Is a little cheesy, but still kind of interesting, and it had John Cusack in it. kind of interesting that those two movies happened, but we didn't get this sort of moment. And then there's, explanations of, there's explanations of stuff he does in actual history and just weaving in his vampire killing with history, because, there's an explanation for why there's the whole, the military's like taking metal from people all over the country to have more material for artillery or ammo during the war, during the Civil War. There's kind of that, not just because they needed it, but also because they needed silver specifically to kill vampires, which were part of the Confederate Army in this story, which is pretty cool. It also sort of explains and plays with the idea of vampires allying with groups like the Confederacy in this time period, because they need blood, they need sustenance. So how else would they get that other than all the stuff that takes place in this point in history. The book definitely takes a more realistic, kind of realistic approach of trying to not like over glorify Lincoln, because it sort of goes with the idea that a lot of the stuff he accomplished in history was sort of someone else's idea, like someone telling him, hey, you should do this, which might be hit or miss with some people. I think it works fine enough, just because it's like, it's not saying, I don't think it's saying Lincoln is inadequate in the story, but it's sort of just being like, hey, most guys don't like have an original thought every time in their head. Some people are just really big influences in each other's lives. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. If you like, first person or diary based stories, you might like this. If you like historical fiction, this will be up your alley. But if you're a Lincoln history purist, maybe check it out. If you know what you're getting into, but also want to study this and see what it got right, or at least what it got right, but also what it kind of plays around with trying to weave vampires into this time period. So yeah, rating wise, I think I'm gonna give Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter a 7 out of 10. I think that's a pretty solid rating for this sort of book, because again, it's not like something I would often read, but it's kind of fun to just read it for the novelty, but also to have it on my shelf. And it might be preposterous, but I'm gonna put this next to some of my nonfiction books, because I am evil, I guess. But that is my review. Let me know what you think of it. Maybe like this video if you liked it, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. I'll try to actually work through my books and get some good reviews out. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.